an organised crime gang who stole phones worth nearly £250,000 in a 3-month reign of terror over London's EE stores have been jailed. Shop staff were left traumatised and in fear of their safety after groups of hooded and masked young men stormed into their stores and forced them to open the safes. The thieves threatened to stab one worker in the neck if he did not comply with their wishes, Kingston Crown Court heard. The Metropolitan Police recovered clues at the scenes of the raids, including dropped latex gloves covered in DNA, and put the robbery gang under surveillance. Some of the gang members were caught in a car fleeing the scene with a robbery kit of gloves, masks and balaclavas still in the getaway vehicle. Others were caught red-handed inside an EE store as they attempted to force staff to open the safe. The court heard the thieves targeted EE stores across London with 41,000 of goods stolen from the Holloway Road branch, £42,000 of handsets taken in Eltham, a £53,000 phone raid on Chiswick High Street, and 46,000 stolen in Notting Hill Gate, and a 55,000 raid in Putney. Other attempted robberies were thwarted when the gang turned up after staff had closed the shop. Brave workers managed to press a panic alarm, and in one instance when a staffer collapsed with a panic attack as the robbery unfolded. In one attempted raid, the gang were scared off because police officers happened to be nearby dealing with a shoplifter. Judge Simon Eppenstall jailed 9 members of the gang who had all taken part in multiple robberies. They demanded the keys to the staff office, and one shouted at him, "Open the effing door. It's going to get long for you. I'm going to stab you in your throat." "This incident has left me feeling shocked and overall frightened," said Mr. Alley. "People nowadays are being stabbed over mobile phones, and this is exactly what was going on through my mind." Amelia Braddon, an EE worker in Holloway Road, said this was the second robbery she had fallen victim to. Masked men stormed the shop just before closing time, using threats to get access to the safe to steal rucksacks full of phones. "I had a genuine belief that if my male colleagues had not intervened, and if the robbers did not get access to the safe, they would seriously hurt my colleagues," and she said. One of the thieves shouted, "If you comply, no one will get hurt," as they forced staff to open the stockroom at the Notting Hill Gate branch on EE on October the 29th last year. In the first, the thief used a pin to enter the storeroom. One of the staff members was grabbed on the arm but managed to break free to flee and ring 999. The court heard the robbers were heard shouting aboard before fleeing with handsets worth just under £2,000. On the day of the raid, police tracked a convoy of cars from Dartford to Kilburn, and they swooped when the robbers were in the store, forcing a staff member to open the safe. This case relates to a linked series of back-office robberies and attempted robberies of phone shops committed by an organised crime group across the period from the 2nd of September to the 19th of November 2024, said prosecutor David Markham. An investigation uncovered the involvement of a combination of these defendants in at least 13 offences, with a total loss to the victim company approaching $250,000. The group primarily targeted EE stores, and the stock stolen was predominantly Apple products. The modus operandi involves the robbers entering shops and heading directly to the back of office areas. They subdued staff by the threat of violence created by a sheer weight of numbers of assailants, and occasionally by verbal demands, with the intimidation that one or more of them had a weapon concealed about their person. They told staff if they offered no resistance, they would be unarmed. Staff were forced to open safes, which contained significant stock of high value. The court said 2 robbers were generally deployed at the back of the stores to load bags with stolen phones. The other 2 were on the shop floor, subduing customers and staff, or acting as a lookout at the front door. Detective Constable Stephen O'Connell, who led the investigation from the Met's flying squad, said, "This case shows the Met's continued determination to tackle organised phone theft and robbery. Officers use forensic and digital techniques to identify and arrest those responsible and bring them to justice. We know how much distress these crimes cause to staff and the impact on businesses. We're dismantling criminal networks at every level, from street-level thieves to organised crime groups, and the police will continue to work with the retail and industry partners to identify and arrest offenders." Alex Towers, Director of Policy and Public Affairs at BE Group, thanked police for catching the gang and said, "We take the safety and well-being of our employees and customers extremely seriously and have long collaborated with law enforcement on cases like this." A man who murdered his pregnant girlfriend while on licence for a previous murder conviction has been sentenced to life with a minimum term of 42 years. Alana Odysseus, 32, grew up in Suffolk and was about 8 weeks pregnant when she died outside her flat in Walthamstow, East London, after being stabbed 19 times with a kitchen knife on the 22nd of July 2024. Shane March, 47, of Surrey Quays, South East London, initially admitted manslaughter on the basis of diminished responsibility and denied murder, but pleaded guilty partway through the trial.
"I just killed someone and I need to go back to jail. Mom, I just killed a woman and I'm going back to jail."
Yeah! I don't regret nothing. Yeah? Give me the death chamber. Yeah? That's what I want. A lethal injection and put me out of my misery. Yeah? And let me just go to the job. Either way, it doesn't bother me. I'm devil's me. Yeah? There's a place for me now in hell. Thank you. Thank you to the kind officers. Thank you. We go with this. Yeah?
Everything's cool, recorded in the van, sir.
I don't ever want to come up. Keep me in there. Keep me in jail. Anyway, I want my grave in a jail. Yeah? Yeah! That's me. You see my face? Yeah! Yeah! I'm a demon. Yeah! Yeah!
When sentencing March earlier at the Old Bailey, Judge Mr. Justice Murray said he may never be released given his age and the length of the minimum term. "I am sure you intended to kill her," Mr. Justice Murray told March, who appeared via video link from HMP Belmarsh, having refused to attend the sentencing hearing in person. The court heard Miss Odysseus was in a tumultuous relationship with March for 4 months before she was killed, during which neighbours heard constant arguments but no outward signs of violence. The probation service in London had arranged for safeguarding checks to be conducted, but when March told them the relationship between him and Miss Odysseus had ended, no further action was taken. March was 21 when he fatally stabbed Andre Drummond, 17, through the neck, and was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment in July 2000. He was released early in 2013 and recalled to jail later that year after he was convicted of assaulting his then pregnant girlfriend, and was released again in February 2018. Jasmine Yates, Miss Odysseus' sister, told the court she had noticed her sister's mental health had become erratic and had tried to encourage her to leave March when he made her delete all the male contacts from her phone. Miss Yates added that while March promised Miss Odysseus he would go to therapy and change, he also left her sister voice notes telling her to get an abortion. Miss Odysseus confided in a friend that she was frightened after March had smashed a glass in her face, the court heard. In a victim impact statement, Miss Yates said she told her sister, "If he can glass you, he can kill you. I am haunted by these words and what happened after." Karen Cronin, Miss Odysseus' mother, told the court, "I used to love going to church and singing in the choir, but the anger I feel towards March doesn't feel Christian, so I no longer go to church. I want him to die in prison with no hope of doing this to anybody else," she added. During the trial, the court was shown CCTV footage of March as he walked away from Miss Odysseus' flat after attacking her and disposing of evidence, including mobile phones and clothing. Police recovered March's phone from a drain and found a voice note he recorded just after 3 a.m. that said, "Mum, I just killed a woman and I'm going back to jail." CCTV and police body cam footage from March's arrest showed him repeatedly admit to killing and stabbing Miss Odysseus. He also referred to himself as scum who deserved to be put in jail. While March was in custody at Barking Police Station in London, he said, "I stabbed her multiple times with a long kitchen knife. I think the last stabbing was by the back of her shoulder blade, probably puncturing her heart." Forensic pathologist Dr. Matt Seeker told the court the post-mortem analysis showed that Miss Odysseus was stabbed in the heart from behind. He added the attack with such severe force that 5 of the 19 stab wounds she suffered would have been fatal in their own right. Criminals who stole more than 300,000 bullets to hide and sell in West Yorkshire have been jailed after being caught in a major police operation. West Yorkshire's Police Precision Serious Organised Crime Team has welcomed the sentencing of 8 men at Leeds Crown Court this week for their roles in a criminal conspiracy in which 330,000.22 bullets were stolen in the West Midlands on the 17th of February 2021. Officers recovered the majority of the ammunition in raids in Farnley the same month as part of a specialist police operation with colleagues in the West Midlands Police, the Yorkshire and Humber Regional Organised Crime Unit and the National Crime Agency. Persons sentenced at court on Wednesday the 26th of November were this man, age 40, of Upper Blaker Ridge Lane, Batley. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison after being found guilty of conspiracy to steal from a motor vehicle and possession of ammunition for a firearm without a certificate. This man, age 51, of Warren Street, Dewsbury, he was sentenced to 4 years and 9 months after being found guilty of conspiracy to steal from a motor vehicle and possession of ammunition for a firearm without a certificate. This man, age 47, of New Village, Morley, he was sentenced to 3 years and 3 months after pleading guilty to conspiracy to steal from a motor vehicle and possession of ammunition for a firearm without a certificate. This man, aged 34, of no fixed address, he was sentenced to 2 years and 3 months after pleading guilty to conspiracy to steal from a motor vehicle. And this man, aged 28, of Hawley Mill Lane, Batley, he was sentenced to 3 years and 6 months after being found guilty of conspiracy to steal from a motor vehicle and possession of ammunition for a firearm without a certificate. There was also a few more men that received suspended sentences. Anas Rasool, aged 29, of Thornhill Street, Dewsbury. He was given a 16-month suspended sentence after pleading guilty to possession of ammunition for a firearm without a certificate. Paul Singh, aged 45, of First Avenue, Leeds. He was given a 12-month suspended sentence after pleading guilty to possession of ammunition for a firearm without a certificate. Jamie Patel, aged 39, of Stanley Road, Leeds. He was given a suspended sentence of 15 months after pleading guilty to possession of ammunition for a firearm without a certificate. Gang members carried out the ammunition theft overnight on the 17th of February after targeting a lorry parked in the Sutton Coldfield area of the West Midlands. They broke into the lorry and unloaded boxes into their own Leyland DAF lorry, which was on false plates. The men then left the area with what proved to be 66 boxes of .22 caliber LR rimfire ammunition, totaling to about 333,000 rounds of ammunition. The matter was reported to the police, and the complex investigation began in the following days, in which the suspect lorry was identified and tracked arriving into West Yorkshire. Fast-paced inquiries between partner agencies followed, in which specialist officers were able to use CCTV and other inquiries to piece together the movements of persons identified as involved to establish where the ammunition had been stored. It was established the suspect lorry had travelled to Dewsbury, where the ammunition was unloaded into a unit on Lock Street before being then moved into a Fiat Scudo van. With the net closing on the group, officers executed warrants at locations in Leeds and Kirklees overnight between the 25th and 26th of February, in which a number of the gang members were arrested. Operations included searches at the lockup in Dewsbury and an operation in Farnley, at which officers located and seized the Fiat van, where they found 64 of the 66 stolen boxes stored inside. Searches were also conducted at a farm in Aberford, in which the Leyland DAF lorry used to mount the heist was located. DCI David Shaw of West Yorkshire Police's Precision Serious Organised Crime Unit, who was the senior investigating officer in the case, said, "It is hard to imagine an offence which can pose a great potential risk to public safety as the theft of live ammunition, especially in the quantities taken in this case. Even though the bullets were of a low sporting caliber, they could very much have posed a real threat to life. It was this threat which prompted the launch of such large operation between police forces and the partners to locate and recover the ammunition as quickly as possible. Thanks to those inquiries, the vast majority of the stolen bullets were soon safely off the streets, with the smaller further amount of the outstanding shells since subsequently recovered in West Yorkshire." He added, "This case really does highlight the joint working which takes place between police forces and specialist agencies on an almost daily basis to foil serious organised criminals such as these men. We do possess the resources to track these crime networks across the country and swiftly implement large-scale operations in the most serious cases, as we have seen here. Operations to target organised criminality to continue across West Yorkshire and those involved in their activity should know that the police and colleagues will use all the necessary resources to bring them to justice. Detective Inspector Al Teague from the West Midlands Police Major Crime Unit said, "We worked really closely with our colleagues from the West Yorkshire Police in the aftermath of the theft. Everyone involved in the operation knew that time was of the essence. The threat that this ammunition could have posed to public safety was hard to imagine, and all the law enforcement agencies involved were determined to safely recover the boxes and bring those involved to justice." 4 men have been jailed after a Nottingham student was frog-marched into an alleyway and robbed during a terrifying ordeal lasting around 40 minutes. In the early hours of Tuesday, the 18th of April 2023, a 19-year-old student was grabbed by 3 masked robbers on Wellington Street in Nottingham city centre. The student was dragged into an alleyway where robbers closed a gate and prevented him from getting away. They took the student's iPhone and made him hand over his passcodes before accessing the victim's banking app and transferring £1,539.63 into another account. The robbers then fled the scene, keeping the student's mobile phone. A police investigation was launched and CCTV inquiries identified 3 suspects. They were tracked to a eatery in Hockley, where one of them made a bank card transaction. Financial checks enabled detectives to identify Oliver Sapanov as one of the 3 robbers, with further inquiries finding he was one of the 3 directors at a company set up 2 months before the robbery. The other 2 directors were Akil Hussain and Sefer Duzgan, who previously attended Luton College with Sapanov, and whose appearances matched those in the CCTV images of the robbery suspects. After some extensive inquiries, a number of warrants were completed, and this resulted in Nottinghamshire Police securing a plethora of evidence along with a large amount of cash. Detectives first executed a warrant at Sapanov's address and discovered the victim's iPhone in a bedroom. He was subsequently arrested on suspicion of robbery and money laundering. Hussain was also arrested during a warrant, with Duzgan handing himself in. A 4th person, Adil Din, was arrested on suspicion of money laundering, and bank inquiries linked him to the criminal enterprise. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Hussain, Duzgan and Din entered guilty pleas to multiple offences at Nottingham Crown Court, while Sapanov was found guilty by a jury at their sentencing hearings on the 21st of November. A victim impact statement was read out on behalf of the student who the court had been frog-marched into the alleyway. The statement read, "I truly believe they had no idea of the impact of their actions have had on me. The defendants attacked me from behind. They took away my liberty by taking me off the streets against my will. Like a prisoner, they held me against my will, and they stole my mobile and money. Throughout the whole incident, I was put in fear, as they had face coverings, and I genuinely felt at their mercy, as I thought I would get physically hurt. Had I tried to struggle or not have property they could steal. I still feel very uncomfortable walking home alone, and I am very wary of who is around me at night. These feelings do not go away, and this is all because of the actions of the defendants." Before passing sentence, Judge Michael Orty KC said the robbery had been meticulously planned and instilled real terror into the victim. The judge added he was inevitably terrified, and he preferred, no doubt wisely, compliance, having discovered just how far his 3 attackers were prepared to go. The reality is, when faced with 3 disguised men prepared as they were issuing threats in those circumstances, only a fool would have resisted. The defendants were sentenced as follows: This man, aged 23, of Huntington Street, Nottingham, was found guilty of kidnap, false imprisonment and robbery and money laundering. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison. This man, aged 23, of Avebury Avenue, Luton, pleaded guilty to kidnap, false imprisonment, robbery and money laundering. He was sentenced for 5 years and 3 months. This man, aged 22, of Hazelville Road, Islington, London, pleaded guilty to kidnap, false imprisonment, robbery, money laundering, and he was jailed for 5 years and 3 months. This man, aged 23, of Manton Drive, Luton, pleaded guilty to money laundering, and he was sentenced for 18 months imprisonment. Following the sentencing, Detective Constable John Hollis, who was commended in court by the judge for the high calibre and real skill of the investigation, said the victim in this case was subjected to an horrific crime. The defendants pursued the victim, who was walking home alone after a night out. They attacked the victim from behind, took the victim off the street, held the victim against their will, and then stole property. It is clear the defendants worked together by purposefully targeting a lone student, and by covering their faces, they thought they could get away with their crimes. Extensive police inquiries identified the perpetrators involved and arrests were made. The property was recovered and the defendants were clearly shocked to be caught. Despite trying to deny the offences, the evidence presented prompted the defendants to admit their guilt during the trial, and another being found guilty by jury. The victim in this case has shown bravery by reporting and supporting police action. This has assisted the police in bringing the defendants to justice and prevented further students being targeted, he added. I welcome the custodial sentences, and I hope the defendants now realise the impact of their cowardly behaviour and crimes. A crime gang that handled more than 1 million worth of stolen vehicles across Surrey and London has been jailed for a total of 10 years and 11 months. 4 members of the organised crime group were sentenced following an extensive Surrey police investigation into the theft and handling of 50 high-value motor vehicles. The investigation began in November 2023 when a woman reported to police that she believed she had unintentionally bought a stolen vehicle from a dealership. Officers traced the vehicle history back to its original owner and examined documents and message exchanges with the dealership. Bank records showed that Abdurrahman Ismail, 34, and Ali Abbas, 31, had both received funds in return for selling the stolen vehicle. As the investigation progressed, led by Surrey Police's Serious and Organised Crime Unit, it became clear that the theft was one in a string of targeted offences across Surrey and London. Through extensive inquiries over more than a year, investigators established that the group had handled and cloned more than 50 stolen vehicles between February 2022 and April 2024. The vehicles were mainly Toyota, Lexus, Hyundai and Kia models, with a combined value of more than 1 million. Once the group received a stolen car, they changed the index plates and altered the vehicle identification numbers. The vehicles were then sold on to dealerships using fake driving licenses and other documents to complete the sales. Ismail and Abbas were arrested in May 2024. Phones, laptops, bank cards and documents were seized from their home addresses. Examination of the phones seized showed extensive messages listing different vehicle models and prices, along with photos of index plates, V5C documents, and stolen vehicles parked inside a workshop. Text messages exchanges also indicated the supply of cannabis. As part of the investigation, Two further individuals were connected to the crime group. Hussein Kapadia, 34, and Rizwan Javed, 41, were arrested in September 2024 when Kapadia was arrested at his home address in Ilford. Police seized a BMW parked on his driveway. Detective Constable Alex Boxall of the Surrey Police's Serious and Organised Crime Unit said these four men orchestrated a highly organised scheme to clone stolen vehicles, disguising their crimes through the use of fraudulent documentation and selling the cars onto the motor trade. 50 vehicle owners were directly affected, and this criminal activity also had a significant impact on insurance companies and car dealerships who suffered losses as a result of the group's actions. Ali Abbas, 31, of Rose Avenue, Mitcham, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to handling stolen goods, conspiracy to commit fraud, conspiracy to transfer criminal property, concerned in the supply of Class B and Class C drugs, and possession or control of identity documents with intent. He appeared at Chichester Crown Court on Monday, January the 27th, 2025, and was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment. Abdurrahman Ismail, 34, of Lancastrian Road, Wallington, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to handling stolen goods, conspiracy to commit fraud, conspiracy to transfer criminal property, concerned in the supply of Class B drugs, and possession or control of identity documents with intent. He appeared at Chichester Crown Court on Monday, the 27th of January 2025, and was sentenced to 16 months imprisonment, suspended for 2 years. Rizwan Javed, 41, of Salcombe Drive, Chadwell Heath, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to handling stolen goods, conspiracy to commit fraud, and conspiracy to transfer criminal property. He appeared at Guildford Crown Court on Friday, September the 19th, 2025, and was sentenced to 2 years and 8 months imprisonment. Hussein Kapadia, 34, of Auckland Road, Ilford, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to handling stolen goods, conspiracy to commit fraud, and conspiracy to transfer criminal property. He appeared at Guildford Crown Court on Friday, September the 19th, 2025, and was sentenced to 2 years and 3 months imprisonment. A fifth defendant appeared at Guildford Crown Court last week for a jury trial. On Friday, November the 21st, he was found not guilty of all offences.